There we go.
All right. Hi, everybody. Hi, Kimmie.
Hi.
Hi. So we're doing another video. This is Lorina and Kim doing another video. And this one is going to be on, what did we decide?
Oh,
Forgiveness
a lot of
and
healing. Yeah, moving through and letting go, and
forgiveness, healing, letting go, intention. Um,
and asking, like applying that to your intention.
yes, that's important. Okay.
But
Which
the
one are we?
beginning,
Yep, go ahead.
but the beginning part, we are going to touch on the Akashic Records and
Oh,
purpose.
yeah. Okay.
So,
So, all right. Well, the reason why I wanted to talk about this is in our last video, I kind of went back. I went back and listened, and I thought, oh, I think I made it sound like our life purpose is smaller than it really is. And I wanted to make sure that people knew that that's not it. When I was saying that sometimes we make our purpose out to be so big and grand. And what I meant by that was like we're not all Beethoven. We're not all Mozart. We're not all here born to become these big figures in the structure of our human society.
mm-hmm.
Now, some people absolutely, absolutely have that purpose. Um, and a lot of times they know at a really young age. But most people, that is not the case. In fact, sometimes we stumble into our life purpose um, uh, because it's not a direct path. It
Yeah,
just isn't, you know. Um, and like in Dolores Cannon's book, "The Three Waves of the Volunteers of the New Earth," something like that. The second wave, those people, their life purpose is actually just to be here.
which is my generation.
Yeah. And those people have a hard time accepting that they're just here, that being here is part of their life purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So they're running around going, "What's my life purpose?" Oh, I don't know what it is.
I,
What they're
we were discussing. We even jokingly have a friend that's heard that and struggles with saying that. What do you mean I'm just supposed to be a light? Like I don't
yeah.
want to be a light. I want to do something fun.
Well, yeah, we'll find out something fun to go to.
True.
Sometimes it's choice too. But life purpose, it can be I'm supposed to be a mother. I'm
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be here just to heal some old wounds and unwrap myself so that I can be here and be my authentic self that is outside of the societal constraints that I was born into and brought into from past lives and am living it. I am here to unwrap that and heal it and become who I really am. That is a big part of life purpose also. So wanted to say that. Do you have anything else to say about that?
No, I think that's a really powerful thing to touch on and to expand upon because, like, I think I used to put so much pressure on myself in the past to be like big, like, oh, I got to do everything like big and like balls to the wall, right? Like, in
Yes.
order to be successful, to be impactful. But then as I've like spiritually evolved, I started to realize it's like not so much about that, but like how do I like be at peace and be humble with knowing like I take what I do well, and it doesn't matter if anybody sees it or if I'm hugely successful, or like it's a matter of like that kindness, that little bit of healing I'm giving that one person. I have no idea how that might impact them, and then they go on to and carry it, and that's the important part, is to be
Yeah.
part of that wave of
Yeah.
contribution. So does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Absolutely. That makes so much sense. So, and we're here for many reasons, and we are all supposed to be here. That is
True.
not an accident. We are supposed to be here. There's a reason why you're here. Um, and healing is a lot of why we're here to
Yeah.
heal the soul and to be more of who you are. We all are on a journey of becoming more of who we are and becoming more authentic. The earth needs that.
Mhm.
We need that. Be your true self. Get rid of
Right.
the constraints and the rules and the boxes that we're told we're supposed to live in. unwrap who you are. A huge, huge part of just being here in general. And help move. The more we do that, the more we move towards a better society, actually. I mean, truly. Because the more you unwrap and heal, the more you stand in your soul, and that place, that soul of who we really are is love. We come from love, but we also come from a place of experiencing our own power.
Mm-hmm.
So holding those two together, because there's so much misuse of power. Yeah, like it's crazy. But if you are unwrapping and healing and becoming who your authentic self, you become empowered. So those two forces of power and love join, and you learn to stand in your power and stand in your authenticity and just be who you are. That's where healing is. That's where we move towards a new reality, a better reality. Okay.
I think it'll come up a few times, like even in the more that we're going to talk about today. But I think for me, a lot of that has been through acceptance of where I'm at. Because if I don't like being where I'm at, then like I'm naturally in alignment, and then B, accepting parts of myself that I didn't like, and bringing compassion to those parts of myself that maybe I learned, well, other people don't like this, or I want to fit in. But like truly, once you're at peace with those parts of your life and who you are, I should say, your personality, the preferences of things you like, you'll attract more and it's a trust process, people that align with you, and they're going to love you for who you are, and the same versus, you will be giving more love back to them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So what were we going to talk about after that?
So today was all about like healing, right? Like
Yeah.
a lot of that, how do we truly heal, and some of those pieces that like letting go is huge. We hear that all the time, right? And we talked about that. Clients will call, oh, I let that go a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's a big piece. And I've had people say, Lorina, but how do I let it go? How do I let it go? How you let it go. And there are different levels of letting go. I'm just going to say that. There are different, like you let go of this much. Well, guess what? There's probably more down there. There's a really good chance there's more down there that you got to let go at a different level and a different level and a different level. Because healing does not take place in just one step. That doesn't mean that you cannot have profound healing in one moment. I want to say that. But healing happens usually in steps. I've had tremendous healing, but guess what? There's still more there.
It'll come up later, yeah.
Yeah, when it's ready. But the thing about when you want to let go and heal, you have to actually decide that you're going to find a way to let it go. You have to decide. And I've told this to people when they say, Lorina, but how do I let it go? First of all, just decide that you're going to let it go. Decide with conviction, I am going to find a way to let this go and heal this. And that opens the door. Just deciding with that intention will take you on a path to letting it go. And I don't know what that path's going to look like. It may be surprising even, but that is part of the journey and part of the path, that once you decide, step out in that decision, it will come to you. Absolutely, it will come to you. You have to decide that you're going to let it go. And that goes to intention and like deciding that you're going to heal. You're going to find a way to heal. You may not know how to do that, but you can heal. Absolutely. I'm saying it with conviction because I've been through it. I know 100% that you can heal, but you have to decide that you're going to do it.
Yeah, and I think for me in the past, and we were talking about that earlier, like a huge block I had is like, and I think it was passed down. It's generational. It's not like when there's such a lack programming in your soul or your family line, you don't ask because you don't think you're going to receive, or like, you know, especially if like a poverty mindset, like, you know, I'd seen in my ancestral line, there was like a lot of poverty. So it's like, well, don't ask because there's only so little out there. And if you're asking, take it from somebody else, but like truly there's enough opportunity that will be created in the physical world for you to be provided to heal. It's just like, it's like a universal law. If you ask, especially for healing, it's such a profound thing that the world wants, the universe wants for us, that it will respond. It will provide the physical opportunity of the healer to show up for you, or the right book, right? Like workshop.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. I grew up, well, as you know, I had 3 siblings who had cystic fibrosis. So my needs, there were 3 girls in the middle who were not sick.
Yeah.
So there were 3 siblings who had, well, one died when he was 5. So, and I was close to 3 years old. So I barely remember that, but there was still the youngest and the oldest had cystic fibrosis. And so the 3 girls in the middle, well, we just didn't get much attention. We were fine. We were looked at as, oh, they're fine.
Yeah.
So we don't need anything. So many years later, I'm sitting in in New York, my first channeling session. There was a friend asked me, hey, I heard this woman does channeling sessions. It was 1987, early channeling sessions. And so anyway, it might have been 1986. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So we're sitting in this room. Almost everybody in this room channeled. I mean, it was somebody was channeling Mother Mary, somebody was channeling Jesus, somebody was channeling, the archangels, and and I had never done this before. It was really fun, and it was really fun. And we were sitting there, and so we were meditating, and everybody was channeling. And at the very end, I was still meditating, and almost everyone had got up, but I was still sitting there meditating, and this tap on my head, and this happens on occasion. I get oh yeah, somebody wants my attention, like physical tap. And I saw this green spirit, and I mean completely green, like bright, beautiful green, shimmery light being. And what he said to me, said just a very short sentence. 2 sentences. Don't be afraid to ask for what do you want? What do you want? And I'm like, that was like boom in my head, like, oh my God. I am afraid to look at what I want. I'm afraid to ask for what I want. I don't even know what I want. I had been conditioned just from my upbringing, don't want anything. Don't want it. Yeah. So that was like oh my God, what do I really want? I don't know. So it was an exploration. And what do I want? And that was part of one of my little wake up calls. I've had many, but start looking at that, because we are conditioned by our family mostly. And their our family's ancestry in those, like, maybe there's poverty, maybe there's lack of a whole bunch of things. So we don't even think that we can have it or go out and get it. It's like, for me, it was like, I don't even think about it. And I still do that sometimes. So, and I have to catch myself and go, wait a minute, what am I creating? And that gets into creation. What am I creating? Back to intention. What do I want to create? What do I want to create? What is my intention around creation? What is my intention around, I want to heal? What I want to have an open heart and have more love in my life. I want because you have to have more love in your life. You have to have an open heart. Well, how do you have an open heart? I don't know. Maybe there's some healing
Receiving.
that needs to take place there so that you can have that. You know, they're all so tied into each other. Yeah. Anyway.
And I think these bigger questions too, like when you were talking, it just like sparked something in me too, is in order to really truly receive what we want, like you as Lorena and me as Kim, like there has to be also like some readiness to really figure out who you are individually and with your sovereignty. That sort of is a challenge to the root chakra tribal fit-in programming, right? Because you can't, if you don't really know yourself well, your soul well, then you're going to be asking and receiving things that really aren't what you really want. Does that make any sense? So there's that level of healing and not stuff, because we're never going to be separate, but just like being willing to express who you are. Again, authenticity into the world with that healing work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're all tied in together. So because what we think we want might be part of the conditions of society that we're told that we want.
Exactly.
We're supposed to want this. Maybe you don't want to get married and have kids. Wow.
That's what happened to me. I thought I had to have kids. I was constantly like all through my 30s, like I was just like, oh, I want it. And then like I got older, figured myself out, and I'm like, oh my God, like what was I thinking?
Yeah. Well, like I was raised Mormon in Utah, female. You're supposed to want to get married in the temple, and you're supposed to have a whole brood of kids, as many as possible. And you're supposed to do it as young as possible. I mean, considering like maybe 18 or older.
Yeah.
You know,
strong programming.
Yeah. And I didn't want that. I knew at a young age I didn't want that. But which is, you know, that is so different than my society that I was growing up in. I knew it. I never wanted to get married. It was just like, I don't know. That doesn't sound good to me. That doesn't mean I don't want partnership, companionship, love, any of those other things. But marriage itself, now I'm a lot older now. And it's like, oh, that might be okay to do. But it's taken me many years to think that that might be a desirable thing. Just so, you know, those things that society tell us that we're supposed to have and need, you may be different than what those people that are telling you you're supposed to want.
And that could be some of the resistance to healing too, right? And receiving,
absolutely,
knowing that instinctively.
Yeah, like I knew a lot of female lawyers who thought for sure they wanted to be lawyers. Like, and by the time they went through all that school, all that money, all that time, they're on the other side of it doing the work and going, oh my God, this isn't what I wanted. But somebody, you know, who knows how they got to that place where they thought they wanted it, but they didn't want it. In fact, they wanted something very far away from what that was. Now, this goes back to trying to figure out who you are and what you really want. That can take years.
Yeah.
Years. And again, that's back to life purpose too. And what are you really doing here? And some of these things are just, maybe that's part of the path, that you're just trying to figure out who you are. Because that's not easy, because we get so many outside messages of who we think we're supposed to be. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Projected somebody else's desires, especially family. That's huge.
Oh yeah.
Huge. Yeah. Anyway, wow, these are big subjects. Do you want to talk a little bit about forgiveness?
Forgiveness is the next topic.
Okay, because I was going to say forgiveness goes along with accepting and healing, intention, and there's something else in there. But the biggest thing about forgiveness, and letting go, because forgiveness and letting go hand in hand. And some people might argue they're the same thing. But if you want to truly forgive, and it is one of the most important healing tools that you can use, is forgiveness. Now, forgiveness doesn't mean that what happened to you to make you feel whatever wrongs were done to you. That doesn't mean that they weren't wrong. And this is the hook, and this is the hardest part, is like, but that was horrible. And so how can I forgive?
Yeah.
And working that out, that is hard. And I've done it myself, I know. So personal experience here, not not talking because I read a book. No.
You had to do the hard work.
Oh yeah, this is the hard work. This is the hard work. But to forgive, the biggest piece of forgiveness is just accepting whatever happened to you. Yeah. To find a place of acceptance that, yeah, that was horrible or shitty or whatever. But it happened. It happened. Find a place within yourself where you just go, it just happened. And that's it. So acceptance is one of the hardest things to do, is just accept it. Just accept it. Because you cannot move on and let go until you find that place of acceptance. It's really hard to do. Yeah.
Let me ask you this question too, because it's something, well, for my process too, is I had to be okay with it being a process, like, because like I had some stuff that came up over the last few years that like was like my soul was waiting to acknowledge and then to forgive and work on, but it wasn't like I just forgave. I mean, I was set a high intention to get there, but I mean, I had to work through waves of emotions and victim mentality for a while. And just like, instead of, you know, we talked about also like not making a story out of it, I didn't, but I also didn't shy away from the feelings that were coming up, and they were heavy, but I knew there was something in me that knew I was going to get to the other end eventually. Sorry, there's a plane going overhead. So I guess like I was saying, just basically like understanding and being okay with, I wasn't just okay with everything for a while. I was angry, you know.
That's part of the, yeah. So it's okay. Yeah, that's where you are in the process. But at some point, if you don't find a way to let go of that anger, it will eat you up, and it will change your body, because it changes your spirit, it changes your soul. So that's where recognition of, how do I let this go? So process it, get in it, but don't let it take over your life.
And make a story out of it, right?
Yeah, and don't sink into it in such a dark place that you can't get out of it. And that's, you know, that's why people go into therapy and all sorts of stuff, because sometimes you need help, which is a really good thing. If you need help, go get help. Really, really important. I've done that. It's like sometimes you just need help, and that can be part of your process. But acknowledge it, roll around in it if you need to. But at some point, you got to pull yourself out of it and just go accept it. And it is a process. It's a big one.
I feel like I emptied out. Like it was almost like you're in a you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel when it's happening, but eventually if you just let go and keep feeling, journaling, whatever your process is, the light does open up, and then you get to the other end. And that's where you get your power back. And I know we could talk a little bit about it, but I feel like when you get the lesson, for whatever reason, that bad thing you know in the past was in your life or happened to you, you get to this place of like, wow, the compassion that you build, the forgiveness, it's really empowering, because you start to see the people that were engaged in it with you. You actually like, you feel bad for them sometimes, because you're like, wow, you really were just kind of a sick, broken person.
Yeah.
And then when you get to this place of compassion for the other parties, it's just like a weight has been lifted off you. At least that's how I see it now. But
yeah. And also with accepting how things just are, because we do a lot of internal battling over where we are in our reality, and just coming to terms with it. And we were talking about this earlier. Now, just accepting where you are, that is a place of power. That is where the shift in healing can take place if you can just accept where you are. And so it's like a lot of love and light people. Sorry, love and light people. I love you.
We love the love and light.
Really. But we're in this 3D reality, and it's really tough. Yeah, it is hard. It's shitty. It's messy. You know, sometimes you get shit all over you. You know, it's hard here. That's it. That is part of reality. You have to be in that place of acceptance of the hard stuff too. Like, okay, this is a good analogy. So when, like, take a general in war, I used this earlier, a general, and he's looking, his troops are under attack. He's not going, oh, my troops are under attack. Oh no, what do I do? Ah. He is not doing that. What he's doing is he is looking at the situation. He is trying to figure out the best strategic way to handle this situation. He is looking at it as fully and clearly as he can so that he can know what to do next. That is acceptance. So pretend you're a general in an army if you need to. And this is just the way it is, because that is a place of power. That is a place of power. That's where you see what's really going on. Then that is where you can let go. That is the place where you can finally, truly let go, because you're in a place of acceptance. You're in a place of power, and then you can step forward. You have clarity about what to do next and where you are now and what steps to take. That is the place. Hard to get there, but that is where healing takes place. And it's taking on your own life. When you can get to that place of acceptance and be accountable for your life, be responsible for your life, again, a place of power. That is a place of power. And of course, you may need help to get there. That's okay.
The help will show up.
Help will show up. If you're in that place, I bet it's like, wow, I need some help. Let's see, how can I find help? I need help. How can I find it? That's when you open that door to finding what you may need next in your process of healing, or in your process of just unraveling and trying to figure out what to do with your life. Because, hey, I've been there. Yeah, I've been there. I know.
How do you feel about, and this is like something we didn't really like, how do you feel about, like, this is something I learned from a really amazing coach I had about, like, even if you're afraid or you don't, you know how sometimes you can get like and like decision, like, stuck in moving forward because you think you have to have it all figured out in your mind, like all the steps. But what I was taught, and I do believe in this, I just haven't been practicing it enough, but I'm going to start where, and you can use this with your dream practices, right before you go to bed, where you're like manifestation techniques, where, like, even for healing, like, you start to think about, what would I feel like when I'm healed? What would I say? Like, you start to use your imagination in the end results to, like, sort of attract in the energies that are going to, like, align up to get you to that place that you want to be at the end. And I'm saying this even for healing, right? To help things along.
No, yes, that is a very powerful practice to do. And I was watching some things on reality shifting this morning. And yes, using your imagination to create what you want in your life and seeing it. And what would that feel like if I were doing this one thing? I really want to do it, and do it like when you've been meditating, like bring that in. So you already are there in that place, and start imagining it, and imagine all of your senses coming in and embracing what your future self looks like, opening that door. But okay, this is back to, you have to be in the place of acceptance of where you are now.
I see that.
To get there. Because if you're still fighting with this part of yourself that, like, oh, I hate this, you're creating this dynamic that is not going to shoot you into that direction. You still have to be where you are. Now, that doesn't mean that is, if you still are struggling with that and I'm sure that there are some people who are, that to start imagining that and use, so that you're opening that space where you may even start to believe that that can happen, because that's maybe where you are and that's what you need to do. But you still have to come to terms with where you are and accept
Present
it.
moment. Yeah.
Present moment, yes. Like, and sometimes it's really a struggle. So I was, this is a good analogy. I was in the ocean once. I was in I was in the ocean at a place called the Breakers, and it's around Newport Beach, Balboa Island area. I can't remember. I mean, I was like 21 or something. I mean, so it was many years ago. But this was like the breakers are coming in really rough, and the water keeps coming in and pulling back out and pulling back out. And people, it's a place where people go to see how strong of swimmers they are. Well, I was young and 21, and I'm like, and I took, I was in swim class in high school. I did a lot of swimming. I knew how to swim really well. I knew how to dive, all this stuff. Anyway, so I thought I can do that. I walk out in the ocean, and man, that ocean almost had me. Like,
Oh no.
yeah. And I kept like crawling up to the shore, and then it'd pull me back out again. Get all the strength to get back up, pull me back out, and it kept happening over and over and over again. And there were a lot of people there. There were lifeguards there. And I thought, wow, does anybody not see me here struggling? And at some point, I literally was going, okay, Lorina, here's a moment for you. And this is just being where you are and accepting it. This is a good example. I just went, okay, Lorina, you are going to live or you're going to die. And that's it right now. There's a lot of clarity in those moments. So either you're going to get the strength to try a couple more times to get to that shore, or you're going to die. You're going to scream for a lifeguard or someone to help you. You're going to die, and hopefully someone will notice you, like flailing. And I just went, okay, I got to get out of here because I'm not dying today.
Decision.
And so a couple of more times, I dragged myself up to shore, and it still happened a couple more times, but I finally got out of there, and it's like, wow, what a lesson. If I were like, no, I was there. I had to get myself out of that situation. That was absolute clarity.
You must
I mean, that's a good story about, what? This is just where I am. No amount of visualizing at that moment is going to get me to that shore. That's like, there's no time.
You got me thinking. I thought this story was, I love how that ended and everything.
Thank you.
I was thinking, I'm glad you're here with me now. But I was thinking it was going to go in a different direction, because you ever heard like about, the riptides and all that? Because I'm from Chicago, so like, we have a lot of riptides in Lake Michigan. So the way what we were always taught is like, don't fight against the current. You're supposed to let yourself go with it, and eventually you'll pop out. I was like, did you do that? And then, but you had a different ending to it.
Yeah. No, I don't know if there were because there were two like shore breaker things on the side.
Okay.
So might have run into rock and been dashed against the rocks.
Oh, shoot.
If I remember correctly. So yeah, there was only one option, I think. Either get yourself out, or two options: get yourself out, or have somebody hopefully get yourself out.
Yeah.
Get you out.
Silly teenagers that were probably the lifeguards, right? Like just zoned out.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you decision making. You made the decision to live.
And that's sometimes it's that clear. But that is the story about accepting where you are. Yeah. Accepting where you are. It's like, I'm just here and I got to get out of this. How am I going to do that? I had to muster up enough strength to actually do it. Like that was a soul conviction. I'm going to get out of this.
You're in the thick of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it's like that. That's not love and light. That's like, this is it. This is real. And so playing in those realities of like other realities, and how do I create my reality, and how do I be in that creation point of reality where I truly am creating what I want, because I have decided what I want. I have the intention, but also knowing. So you know what you want. So I knew I decided I want to live.
Mhm.
But there is that creation point, the point in the middle. That is the middle point. That's where the magic is in the middle point of reality. That's the magic, where if you can find that place, it's a place of peace and clarity and alignment. That happened for me in that place. I still didn't get out right away. That's the magic place of, if you can stay in that place of alignment where you know what you want, you are in a matrix of creation. You know it, you've set your sights on it. If you come from that center point of acceptance, that's where also the magic lies. That's where healing takes place. That's where magic takes place. That's where creation takes place. It is a place of acceptance and intention, both of those things. And that's where, again, that's where your power lies.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. It's a perfect example to tie that teaching up.
And that was not, that was not like some metaphysical woo-woo thing, but you can apply those metaphysical, the clarity, intention, absolute clarity. Which sometimes those really dramatic things bring absolute clarity.
Yeah.
It's because, so there's a lesson in that too.
Those lessons get cemented home with the harder things that happen in our earthly lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And when you have intention, it's so powerful. It is so powerful to know what you want to create and then go from there. Like readings, when you're doing a reading, if you come in with, I don't know what I want to know, guess what? You're not going to have a good reading. You don't have clear intentions. Are you going to get like, well, that was weird. Why did Cleopatra show up at my reading? That's,
you left the door open for anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And, I did it was a reading for somebody about 2 weeks ago. And it ended up being a phenomenal reading, but she came in with, oh, it's just my birthday. And so I wanted a reading. And very spacey and very and I'm like, okay. I'm thinking, I need a place to start. I need an intention. Because this sets the reading. And so she's like, well, I'm trying to unwrap some boxes that are tucked away behind in a closet, and very metaphorical, still not very clear.
Like some things, yeah, okay.
So the reading started off kind of like a little funny, because I'm like, okay, there's not a lot of strength in that. And that doesn't mean that you can't have a good reading, but it's better. It's always going to be better. Like if go in for a healing, I have an intention for this. Like, be clear what you want. And at some point in her session, I said, okay, this is funny. The color gold is really, really important to you. Now, how vague is that? Even from a reading standpoint, that seems really vague. Yeah. And I'm the reader, and I'm thinking that to myself as I'm telling her this. But then at some point, it shifted, and I'm like, okay, there are these golden beings in the room, and they're around you, and the level of importance of this color gold has just escalated to, that's not just a vague statement. And then these golden beings came in, and all this healing was coming in. And I was receiving the healing. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And she was feeling it, and I was feeling it. And what's funny is I work with golden beings, and I asked them to come in even before she got there. I was meditating and sent that intention of these beings coming in and helping. And this is not a healing. This was a reading. But this healing was coming in, and I'm washing over in this waves of healing, and she is too. And then later, after this healing was going on for a while, it was really, and she's just like all blissed out. And she said to me, she said, oh, Well, I work with a golden being.
Can you acknowledge that?
Yeah. So anyway, it's just kind of funny that it did end up being a profound healing, but there was no point of focus for me to, so it got there and it was amazing, but it will just work better if you have a point of focus, like remote viewing. You have an intent. Your intent is to find the target, and you find the target. It's amazing how it works. You don't always find the target, but a lot of times you tune in to what that thing is. Its intent is that strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think that's powerful about remote viewing. Yeah.
Yeah. And also in creation, like the first rule of creating the reality that you want, you have to know what you want. That is number one rule. Going back to what do you want in your life and asking for it. Asking for it. That's our next subject.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where I've floundered a lot. Well, I wouldn't say floundered because it just was part of my process. But now it's been coming up stronger and stronger. It's like now that you have such a better sense of who you are as an individual, what do you want? And then I'll be like, I'll freeze. Like, what do you mean? I get to ask for what I want? Like, it's such a foreign feeling, you know?
Oh yeah, and that was my story about this being going. What do you want? Don't be afraid to ask for what you want. And I felt like I was frozen. Like, oh my God, I can have what I want. So, and this is, how old was I? I was probably 29 or something. So this is, I'm still working on it.
Well, it's funny how those like beliefs are embedded in pretty far. I remember some of my like childhood prayers, like all of them were, because I was raised Catholic, and then it was like, "Dear Jesus, if you have any time for me at all, may I ask you the smallest favor? But I know you have other people to help. Like, but if you can just, it was almost like I was begging for any like screen time with him. And like, I was like, where did that come from?
Oh my God,
I actually felt guilty for even asking for anything.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and that's how I get that. I had 3 siblings who had cystic fibrosis, who had a disease they're going to die from.
Yeah.
What are my needs compared to theirs? Oh my God. How,
Right.
They're going to die. They're going to get really sick. I get to watch it. I get to be a witness to that. So what do I need? Can I please have a pair of shoes? So I grew up trying to not want things, trying to not want things, because who am I to ask for that? So but that's a lesson. That is a lesson. Still, there's still parts of me that's like, okay, let's open up and want more, but want more in a way of like, because there's also greediness. And greediness is like super overboard. Like, what do I want? And I don't want to be like that. I know that, because that's ugly. But want in a sense of, and this is part of creation process too, want in a sense of what do I really, really want? A true desire. Like, I want a beautiful home, and it will just make me happy sitting in that beautiful home. And I've got things around me that I love, like I have a cat and I have a dog, and they make me happy. They're just sharing my life with these beautiful creatures. Or I want an art studio where I can paint my paintings.
Yeah. More of those, please.
Yeah. Because that's part of my purpose, is actually like expressing myself in this way. So I need the place where I can do that. So, so true desires, not, and I've said it, like, oh, I want a ridiculously expensive car. Well, that seems kind of stupid, but I don't know. Well, is that a true desire? Maybe it is. Maybe it's not a real desire. Maybe it's just, you need to figure that out though. So you have to go buy that ridiculously expensive car so you can figure out that it doesn't make you who you are.
Right.
But for now, it's just an expression of your soul that you need a silly, expensive car.
Yeah.
Who's to say? But true desires are what will make you happy. Having a house where your feet feel really good on the floor there. It's your soul is connected to that place.
Yeah.
So that goes into soul. Like, what does your soul really want? Back to that. And creating that. Yeah. Wow. There's a lot of pieces here. But it's all important, Yeah. So finding out what you really, really want is part of your soul process. And that goes back to your being authentic. Being authentic. What does that soul really want? And part of that has to do with expressing who you are in this creation, in this reality.
Right.
And what does that look like? And the more connected you are to your authentic self, the more you will find out what that is, and then you can create it. But usually, sometimes that's a knowing, but sometimes that's a revealing. It's part of the process. It will reveal itself to you, and you don't know right away. But sometimes there are people who do know.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, do you have anything
Yeah,
else?
and I think part of the other facet of all that is being okay too with letting go of the things that don't align. Like there's going to be a shedding process with all that too. And in the past, I used to freak out with thinking that something that wasn't working in my life fell away. There would be friends or a job or whatever. I would panic and blame myself. And it was no, that was just for their highest good too. And my highest good, for realignment to the new.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of the lesson. It's a big part of the lesson. Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard to get rid of some of these things. That's where attachment comes in. And attachment to people. Yeah. If you're running around with a lot of people who have a real low vibration, maybe it's time to shed some of those people. And that's part of the lesson. And that's not easy, but it's part of the lesson. Hey, I was part of a cult once.
You were? I mean, the Mormons?
No.
You're involved in another cult?
Well, that's another cult. I was raised in a cult. Yeah. I feel a little nervous saying that for some reason, but that's because I know a lot of Mormons who are still into it because I was raised in that. And so I don't want to offend anyone, but hey, that's pretty much a cult. Yeah, it's pretty hardcore. Like you have to live your life this way, or you're, or you're going to, we won't be able to see you in heaven. Well, we can come visit you. We can come to these lower planes and come visit you, but you can't be up here where we are. Anyway,
I think there's a lot of things in our modern day culture that are acceptable that are truly cultish too. So,
absolutely, boy, is that true.
That's another episode, right?
Yeah. But I was part of it. The thing is about cults, you don't know they're a cult until you're in them.
Or getting out of it.
And then getting out of it. But yeah, so, and I'm pretty open-minded. So yeah, I was part of a pretty hardcore cult, and very new agey cult. And I know people are still into it and still believe it. I can't remember what my point is about this. Yeah, and because I'm open to what's out there for me. I had to discover, as part of my discovery process, of just being accepting and again, rolling around in something and seeing if it's right for you. Sometimes you got to get in it, roll around in it a bit, and then go, oh no, this is not for me. And by the time I figured that out, it's I put a lot of money and time and investment into that. But I just okay, no.
In some ways, I'm not involved in doing plant medicine anymore, combo. But in some ways, looking back, and I'm there was a lot of cultish stuff going on in the ayahuasca circles and the combo.
Wow.
Looking back, this thing will save you. You'll purge out all your La Purga. Now I'm oh my God, the only thing that's gonna save you is you.
Ultimately, yeah. And anyway, so I had to let that go. Yeah, and If this is not working, and this I think can happen with religions. If you have invested a lot of time, a lot of money, your culture, and it's involved in you're involved in the culture of it too. So socially, and then financially, all these things, you've invested a lot of energy, money, time into this thing. And then you decide, oh dear, this is not working for me. And it's negative, it's actually stifling me. It's hard to let those things go because of how much you already invested into the thing. But it's actually, so there's an investment, a big investment. And then you got to believe, and your belief, you believed in it, or at least, or you put your energy into trying to believe it.
Yeah.
So you got to so if it's not, if your soul is not growing anymore from being involved in this, that's the negative aspect of it. Let it go. Let it go. Just like, yeah, you did that. Yeah, you were part of it.
It served its time, its purpose, right?
Yes, it was a lesson. Let it go. Go to acceptance. That's your place of power. Let it go. Only a lesson. Let it go. That's it.
I kept feeling as we were talking about this, because I know we're wrapping up towards the end, but like, I was like, I think we didn't plan on talking about this topic, but I'm like, there must be some message that needed to come out to some viewer. Somebody needed this topic, you know. So I was like, this took a little bit of a turn, but I think it was needed and it was part of it. So
it's part of it. Letting go of something that's not working for you.
But just talking about like cultish mentality, like I don't know why. Anyways, that felt like it was like a spirit-driven part.
Cultish. We get stuck on belief systems, and and this is the be all end all. This is going to save you, or this is you'll find true healing, 100% healing through this one thing, and that's it. So,
how many times have you been through that? Like I can't even tell you. Like I've been through a few levels of that too, and I'm like, well,
and that's it. Healing. There's still work to do. You're still here, and like we said, if you're done, then you're out of here, and you're on to the next world. Truly, like you're done. If you're done healing, then that means you're done. Like, see you in the next lifetime, or on the other side. That's it. We're not done. There's more layers. And that's okay. You got to be okay with it. There's the process of life. We roll around in things and get dirty, and then we clean ourselves off, and then we're off to the next adventure. You know, that's it.
Here's to the great adventure.
Yes, I think that's a good way to end this. This is the great adventure. We're, Earth School 101, 202, 303.
Learning and healing.
Learning and healing, unwrapping. That's it. It's not easy, but it's worthwhile. That healing is worthwhile. That digging deep into the soul, it's worth it. Yeah. All right. I think we're done. Are we done?
Yeah. Yep. Always a pleasure.
Yeah. That was a really fun conversation.
Yes.
All right. So goodbye to everybody. Please like, share, subscribe, all those things. And we'll see what we talk about next time.
Yes. It's been a pleasure, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye, Lorina.
Yeah. Bye, everybody. Bye, Kimmie. See you soon.